Welcome to the deep dive, where we basically take a whole stack of research and boil it down to the good stuff.
That's right.
And today, we're going high altitude,
Ooh, exciting.
not for a hiking trip,
Right.
but to explore the world of mountain pigeons.
Oh, wow.
Now I'm Harry, and before you picture pigeons wearing tiny backpacks, delivering mail across snowy peaks,
Uh-huh.
let me introduce you to our expert guide, Kimi,
Hi, everybody.
who's going to help us unpack this fascinating group of birds.
It's great to be here, Harry. And yeah, I can assure you mountain pigeons are much cooler than your average city pigeon.
Okay.
Think vibrant colors, unique behaviors, and they're actually found only on a handful of islands
Wow.
in Indonesia and Melanesia.
Oh, okay.
So we're relying on our trusty Wikipedia article to navigate this deep dive.
Well, you had me at vibrant colors. I'm already intrigued.
All right.
So where do we even begin with these avian mountaineers? I mean, we've got a whole Wikipedia page dedicated to them, but it can be hard to sift through all that info. So I'm curious, what's the first thing that jumps out at you when you think about mountain pigeons?
Well, I think their name itself is a bit of a giveaway.
Okay.
Gymnohaps, it comes from ancient Greek and means bear pigeon,
Bear pigeon.
which might sound a little strange,
Yeah.
but it actually refers to a very distinctive feature, the lack of feathers around their eyes,
Really?
giving them this striking look with bright red skin exposed.
Huh. So they're rocking the bold, no makeup look even before it was trendy.
That's right.
But beyond their fashion choices,
Yep.
where do these bare-eyed beauties fit into the grand scheme of pigeon evolution?
Right.
I remember reading that their classification was a bit of a puzzle for ornithologists for a while.
It was a real head scratcher.
Mm-hmm.
For years, scientists like Ernst Harder,
Yeah.
Tom Iredale, Derek Goodwin,
Wow, those are some names.
yeah, debated which pigeon genus mountain pigeons were most closely related to.
Okay.
Some thought columba, your typical pigeons. Right, right.
Others favored Tilenopus, the fruit doves,
Hmm.
and some even considered Ducula, the imperial pigeons.
So a real-life pigeon mystery with a bunch of experts trying to crack the case.
Exactly.
What finally solved the puzzle was it some groundbreaking pigeon detective work?
Well, in a way, yes.
Okay.
The game changer was DNA analysis,
Right.
which has revolutionized how we understand relationships between species.
Yeah.
And it turns out mountain pigeons are most closely related to the topknot pigeon.
Really?
A rather surprising connection given their geographical distance.
That is surprising. You'd think birds living on tropical islands would be closer to other tropical birds, not a pigeon from Australia.
Yeah,
It's like finding out your long-lost cousin lives on the other side of the world.
right.
But I guess that's the beauty of evolution, always throwing us curveballs.
Always.
So we've got this unique group of pigeons hanging out on these specific islands.
Yep.
How many species are we talking about? And are they all doing okay in terms of conservation status? So there are 4 species of mountain pigeons, each found on its own little island paradise.
Okay.
You've got the Papuan mountain pigeon, the Siram mountain pigeon, the Buru mountain pigeon, and the pale mountain pigeon.
Okay, so 4 different ones.
4 different ones, yep.
Okay.
And thankfully, all 4 are currently listed as least concern by the IUCN,
Phew.
meaning they're not facing any immediate threats to their survival.
That's a relief. I always get nervous when we delve into species that are struggling.
Right.
So it's nice to know these pigeons are thriving in their island homes.
They are.
But let's get back to their looks for a moment.
Okay.
You mentioned vibrant colors.
Yes.
And I have to admit, I'm picturing something a little more flamboyant than your average gray city pigeon.
Oh, they definitely bring the style,
Okay.
while they all share that signature bear skin around the eyes,
Right.
which, by the way, is bright red and super striking.
Wow.
Each species has its own unique plumage and patterns.
Okay.
Imagine a pigeon with a slate gray body, a rich chestnut maroon throat and belly, and a contrasting white breast.
That's beautiful.
That's the Papuan mountain pigeon, a real showstopper.
I'm already adding, see a Papuan mountain pigeon in the wild to my bucket list. It's amazing how such subtle variations in color and pattern can create such distinct looks.
It really is.
It's like nature's own fashion show out there.
Yeah.
But are there any differences between the males and females?
Yes.
Do the males have even flashier colors to attract mates like some other bird species?
So in the case of the Papuan mountain pigeon, the females have a similar color palette, but with a bit more gray,
Okay.
especially on the breast, so slightly less contrast,
Gotcha.
but still incredibly elegant.
Mm-hmm.
However, some mountain pigeon species, like the Buru mountain pigeon, actually show a bit more pronounced sexual dimorphism.
Intriguing. Tell me more about these gender fashion differences.
Okay.
Do the males get all the fancy feathers? Or do the females hold their own in the style department? I'm all ears.
Well, for the Buru mountain pigeon, the males have this stunning bluish gray crown and neck darker slate gray upper parts, and a breast that fades from white to buff pink as it reaches the belly, a real stylish gradient.
Wow.
The females, however, are slightly smaller and sport a darker red hue on their breasts.
Okay.
So they definitely stand out in their own right.
It's fascinating how evolution has shaped these subtle differences between the sexes.
Yeah,
I guess even pigeons have to keep up with the latest trends.
that's right.
But let's not get too caught up in their wardrobes.
Right.
I'm curious about where they call home. They're island dwellers,
Uh-huh.
but what kind of environments do they prefer?
Mm.
Are they beach bums, rainforest dwellers, or something in between?
Think lush green and high altitude.
Okay.
They inhabit hill and montane forests on some of the most biodiverse islands in the world.
Oh, wow.
Buru Saram, New Guinea, and the Solomon Islands archipelago.
So we're talking real hidden paradises far from the hustle and bustle of city life.
That's right.
I bet they have some incredible views from those mountain forests.
Oh, for sure.
But are they always hanging out in the highlands? Or do they ever venture down to lower elevations for a change of scenery?
Well, some species, like the Papuan mountain pigeon, actually exhibit seasonal movements,
Oh, really?
descending to beach forests during the rainy season,
Interesting.
perhaps in search of specific food sources or more favorable conditions.
So they're not afraid of a little adventure.
No, they're not.
It sounds like they've got a pretty good life, stunning views, peaceful forests,
Mm-hmm.
and no immediate threats to their survival. But we've only scratched the surface of their fascinating world. I'm eager to dive deeper into their behavior, their social lives,
Yeah,
and those unique adaptations that allow them to thrive in these specific environments.
I'm with you there, Harry. There's so much more to discover about these remarkable birds. Their social dynamics are particularly intriguing, especially when you consider their highly gregarious nature.
Gregarious, you mean they're not just solitary birds chilling on branches? Tell me they have epic pigeon parties in the canopy.
Oh, they're definitely party animals.
Yeah.
Mountain pigeons are known to congregate in flocks of 10 to 40 individuals, sometimes even more.
Wow.
Imagine them taking off from their mountain roosts each morning, creating this incredible whooshing sound with their wings as they descend to forage for food.
Okay, that mental image alone is worth the price of admission to this deep dive.
Right.
A synchronized pigeon air show cascading down the mountainside. I'm hooked.
Good.
And that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
We haven't even touched on their unique courtship displays and their dietary quirks and their incredible adaptations for survival in these challenging island environments.
That's right.
Well, you've officially piqued my curiosity. I can't wait to uncover more about the secret lives of mountain pigeons. Let's take a deep dive into their behavior and ecology. I have a feeling it's going to be a wild ride.
Let's do it. Welcome back, everyone. We left off talking about these incredible flocks of mountain pigeons taking flight each morning. Quite the sight to imagine, isn't it? But it's not just the visual spectacle that's intriguing. Their social behavior within these flocks is fascinating, too.
I'm all ears. Are they like a big happy pigeon family all preening each other and sharing the best foraging spots? Or is there some drama and competition going on behind the scenes?
Well, while they're not exactly gossiping over berries, there's definitely a lot of communication happening within those flocks. They may not be known for elaborate songs like some birds, but mountain pigeons have their own subtle ways of keeping in touch, using a combination of soft whistles, wheezy calls, and that impressive whooshing sound they create with their wings, especially during those synchronized descents.
I bet that whooshing is like their way of announcing their arrival to the forest. Like, the pigeon posse is here, make way for fruit feasting.
You could say that it's certainly a way to make their presence known, but let's not forget these pigeons are all about that frugivore life. Their diet is primarily fruits like figs and drupes, and they spend their days foraging in the canopy, seeking out the ripest, juiciest morsels.
So they're basically avian connoisseurs, always on the lookout for the finest forest delicacies. I'm starting to think these mountain pigeons have a pretty sweet life, but earlier you mentioned the Papuan mountain pigeons' seasonal movements to beach forests. Do they have any other interesting dietary quirks?
The Papuan mountain pigeon is particularly interesting because they've been observed flying long distances, even to lower elevations, to seek out specific types of fruiting trees. Talk about dedication to their culinary preferences. They're like the gourmet chefs of the pigeon world, going the extra mile for those rare and delicious ingredients.
I guess when you live on an island, you got to get creative with your food sourcing.
Yeah.
But speaking of unusual food choices, didn't we touch upon something about these pigeons eating dirt?
You're remembering correctly, it's called geophagy, and while it might seem strange to us, it's a behavior observed in many animal species, including our Papuan mountain pigeon. Scientists believe they might be doing this to obtain essential minerals or aid digestion, especially since their diet is so heavily fruit-based.
So it's like nature's own mineral supplement.
Yeah.
I wonder if they have favorite dirt patches or if they're not that picky about their earthy snacks.
That's a question for future research, but I think it's time we shifted gears from their dietary habits to something a little more romantic. Their courtship rituals. Remember those dramatic display flights we mentioned earlier?
Oh yes, those aerial acrobatics are not to be forgotten.
Yeah.
Spill the details.
Yeah.
How do these pigeons win over their mates? Do they have elaborate dances or sing love songs?
For mountain pigeons, it's all about the aerial display. Imagine a male Papuan mountain pigeon perched high on a branch overlooking a steep drop to impress a nearby female. He launches himself into the air, dives dramatically towards the ground, then suddenly swoops upward, soaring high above the canopy in a flurry of wing beats.
It's like a pigeon version of a romantic skydiving date. I'm picturing hearts fluttering in the forest below, but does he just keep flying until he runs out of energy? What happens next?
He doesn't stop there at the peak of his ascent. He stalls, hovers for a moment as if suspended in midair, then gracefully plummets back down toward the forest floor before returning to his perch, ready to repeat the entire performance, showcasing his strength, agility, and unwavering dedication to this elaborate courtship ritual.
So it's like a carefully choreographed dance, but in the sky, I bet the females are impressed by all that effort. Do all the mountain pigeon species have such elaborate courtship displays?
While the details might vary, all 4 species engage in display flights to attract mates. The Siam mountain pigeon, for example, has a similar routine, but their flights are a bit less intense. They fly lower, their dives aren't as steep, and they keep moving forward after their descent instead of returning to their perch immediately.
So maybe they're a bit more pragmatic in their approach to courtship, less flash, more stamina. But once they've found their perfect match, what's next on the agenda? Do they build fancy nests to raise their chicks?
Actually, their nesting habits are quite diverse. Some, like the Papuan mountain pigeon, opt for simplicity, creating a shallow scrape on the ground hidden among the undergrowth. Others, like the Siam mountain pigeon, prefer a bit more elevation, building stick platforms in trees several meters above the ground.
So they've got options, ground level or penthouse suite, depending on their preference.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter the location, we know they keep their family planning pretty minimal, right? Just 1 egg per clutch.
Exactly. It's a fascinating reproductive strategy that scientists are still trying to fully understand. They invest a lot of energy in raising that single chick, ensuring its survival in a world full of predators and challenges.
Speaking of challenges, we can't forget about those pesky feather lice and the ever-present threat of pygmy eagles. It's a tough world out there, even for a stylish pigeon.
It certainly is. But despite these challenges, all 4 mountain pigeon species are currently listed as least concern, meaning their populations are relatively stable and their habitats are relatively secure, at least for now.
That's reassuring. It sounds like these pigeons have found a way to thrive in their unique island environments. But before we get too comfortable with their least concern status, I'm curious to know a bit more about their specific populations and distributions. Are they evenly spread out across their ranges, or are some species more common than others?
That's a great question. And it's important to remember that least concern doesn't mean no concern. While all 4 species are doing okay overall, their populations can vary significantly depending on the island and specific habitat.
So we're talking about variations within variations. It sounds like there's a lot more to unpack when it comes to their conservation status.
Each species has its own story, its own set of challenges and adaptations. For example, the Papuan mountain pigeon, while relatively common on New Guinea, is considered uncommon on other islands within its range.
It's like each island is its own little microcosm with its own unique set of factors influencing these pigeon populations.
Exactly, and that's what makes studying island biodiversity so fascinating. It's a chance to see evolution in action, to understand how species adapt to these isolated environments.
I'm already feeling like we need to extend this deep dive. There's so much to uncover, but let's take a closer look at the population data we have for the other species. I remember you mentioning some estimates for the Buru mountain pigeon, but what about the Siam and pale mountain pigeons? Do we have any insights into their numbers?
The Buru mountain pigeon had an estimated population of around 43,000 individuals back in 1989, based on surveys and available data. While we don't have precise numbers for their current population, Recent estimates suggest they're still doing all right, with somewhere between 20,000 and 50,000 individuals thought to be inhabiting the island.
So still a healthy population, but definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And what are the Seram mountain pigeon? Are they faring better or worse than their Buru cousins?
Interestingly, while we don't have specific population figures for the Seram Mound, pigeon reports indicate that they're actually more common on Seram than the Buru mountain pigeon is on Buru. This suggests that factors like habitat availability and suitability might be playing a role in their relative abundance.
So it's a complex interplay of factors. It's fascinating how these seemingly subtle environmental differences can have such a significant impact on population dynamics. And what about the pale mountain pigeon? Are they the life of the pigeon party, or are they a bit more elusive?
The pale mountain pigeon is another species that offers intriguing insights into adaptation and population dynamics. They're known to congregate in massive flocks, sometimes numbering in the hundreds, particularly on the island of Kolumbangar and the Solomon Islands. Imagine witnessing a roost of that scale. It would be an incredible sight.
Hundreds of pigeons roosting together. That's like a pigeon metropolis in the trees. But what's driving these massive gatherings? Is it all about safety and numbers, or are there other factors at play?
That's a great question, and one that scientists are still exploring. It's likely a combination of factors, including food availability, predator avoidance, and social interactions. Large flocks might offer advantages in terms of foraging efficiency and detecting potential threats. But there's still much to learn about the intricacies of their social behavior and the ecological drivers behind these large roosting aggregations.
It's amazing how even a seemingly simple question about population numbers can lead to so many more intriguing questions about behavior, ecology, and evolution. And it highlights the importance of continued research and monitoring to ensure these fascinating pigeons continue to thrive in their unique island environments. But I think it's time we shifted gears once again from population dynamics to something a bit more philosophical, the grand scheme of mountain pigeon evolution and taxonomy. We touched on their relationship to the top-knot pigeon earlier, but I'm eager to dive deeper into their family tree and understand where they fit in the grand narrative of pigeon evolution.
I'm happy to delve into that, Hari. Their evolutionary history is truly fascinating and helps us understand not just their place among pigeons, but also broader patterns of avian biogeography and diversification.
Excellent. Let's trace their lineage, unravel those branches on the pigeon family tree, and see what insights we can glean from their evolutionary journey.
To understand the mountain pigeon's place in the pigeon world, we need to picture a cladogram that's a branching diagram showing evolutionary relationships, like a family tree for species at the base of the clade containing our pigeons. You have the imperial pigeons, the Ducula genus. They branched off early in evolutionary history, so they're considered the most basal group in this particular lineage.
So the Ducula are like the wise elders of the pigeon family, the ones who started it all.
Precisely. And as we move along the branches of this evolutionary tree, we encounter other fascinating groups, each with their unique characteristics and adaptations. Next up are the blue pigeons, Electrinas, followed by the cloven-feathered dove, Drepinoptila, a truly unique species with specialized feathers. And then we have the fruit doves, Tilinopus, known for their vibrant colors and love for, you guessed it, fruit.
It's amazing how diverse this pigeon family tree is. I'm starting to see those family reunions getting pretty crowded.
Yeah.
But where do our mountain pigeons fit into all of this?
Well, we reach a pivotal fork in the evolutionary road. On one branch, we have the New Zealand pigeons, Hemiphaga, and on the other, that's where our mountain pigeons and their top-knot pigeon relatives reside, sharing a more recent common ancestor than with any of the other pigeon groups we've mentioned.
So they're closer cousins to the top-knot pigeon than at any of those other groups, even though they live on opposite sides of the world. It really highlights the power of continental drift and those ancient geological events that shape the distribution of species we see today.
Exactly, and it begs the question, how did these bare-eyed beauties end up on those specific islands in Indonesia and Melanesia? Were they intrepid explorers island hopping their way across the ocean, or did some ancient geological event play a role in their dispersal?
It's like a real-life pigeon mystery. I'm picturing a tiny flock of adventurous pigeons setting sail on a raft of twigs, seeking out new fruit-filled lands. But I suspect the real story is a bit more complex, isn't it?
You're right. It's rarely that simple. There are a few possible scenarios at play here. One is that they descended from a common ancestor that inhabited a larger landmass that later fragmented into islands, a process known as vicariance. Another possibility is that over vast stretches of time, some individuals were blown off course during storms or migrations and ended up on new shores, a process called dispersal.
So it could be a combination of ancient geological events and some accidental pigeon voyages. It's like a mix of adventure and fate that led them to their current island homes.
Precisely, it's a complex interplay of factors that has shaped their current distribution. A reminder that the story of life on Earth is never static, always evolving and responding to environmental changes.
Well, that's a fascinating glimpse into their evolutionary history.
Yeah.
But I'm already feeling like we need to go deeper to explore the specific adaptations that allow these pigeons to thrive in their island environments.
I agree, Harry. There's so much more to uncover about these remarkable birds, from their feeding strategies and nesting habits to those distinctive physical features that set them apart.
I'm ready for the next chapter in our mountain pigeon adventure.
Yeah.
Welcome back to our exploration of mountain pigeons. We've journeyed through their vibrant colors, their social lives, and even their taste for dirt.
It's been quite the adventure.
It has, but now I'm really curious about those physical adaptations
Right.
that allow them to thrive in those lush, high-altitude forests.
Right.
What makes these pigeons different from their city-dwelling cousins?
Well, their physical traits are really key to their survival in these unique environments. Let's start with those long tails and wings we've mentioned a few times.
Yeah.
They're not just for show, you know.
Right.
Those features give them incredible maneuverability in the dense forest canopy, allowing them to navigate between branches with ease and make those impressive dives during their courtship displays.
It's like they've got built-in navigation systems and acrobatic skills.
That's a great way to put it.
And those wings must be powerful too, especially if they're forming long distances for their favorite fruits.
Absolutely. Their wing strength is crucial for those long flights and for escaping predators like the pygmy eagle.
Right.
It's a classic example of natural selection at work,
Uh-huh.
where those with stronger wings are more likely to survive and pass on their genes.
Makes sense.
But let's not forget their most striking feature,
Oh, yeah.
that bright red skin around their eyes.
Ah, yes, the bare-eyed look. It's certainly distinctive. But is it just a fashion statement, or does it serve a practical purpose?
Well, we can't ask the pigeons for their style preferences.
Right.
Scientists believe that the bare skin might play a role in thermoregulation,
Oh, interesting.
helping them dissipate heat in those warm, humid environments.
So not just stylish, but practical, too. It's like nature's own version of high-tech sportswear.
Exactly.
But we've talked a lot about the physical adaptations that help them survive.
Yeah.
What about their reproductive strategies? We know they lay only one egg per clutch,
Uh-huh.
which seems pretty minimal compared to other birds.
That's right. They've gone for quality over quantity, investing a lot of energy in raising that single chick to ensure its survival.
Okay.
And speaking of nesting, their strategies vary depending on the species.
Right.
Some, like the Papuan mountain pigeon, opt for ground nests, creating a simple scrape hidden among the undergrowth. Others, like the Saram mountain pigeon, prefer to nest in trees, building stick platforms several meters above the ground.
So they've got options.
Wow.
A cozy ground-level bungalow or a treetop penthouse suite. It's amazing how much diversity there is within this single genus of pigeons.
It really is.
But no matter where they nest, they face those ever-present threats from predators and parasites, right?
Unfortunately, yes. Even paradise has its dangers. We've already mentioned the pygmy eagle.
Right.
But they also have to contend with those pesky feather lice,
Uh,
which, while not deadly, can certainly make life uncomfortable.
I can imagine it's like having a constant itch you can't scratch. But despite these challenges, all 4 mountain pigeon species are currently listed as least concern, which is definitely good news.
It is good news, but it's important to remember that their conservation status is constantly being assessed and things can change.
Right.
While they're doing okay, overall, their populations are not evenly distributed.
Okay.
The Papuan mountain pigeon, for example, is considered uncommon on some islands within its range, highlighting the need for continued monitoring and conservation efforts.
It's a reminder that even species that appear to be thriving can face localized threats, and it's our responsibility to ensure their continued survival. But before we get too serious, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, those massive roosting flocks of the pale mountain pigeon on Kolombangara.
Oh, yeah.
Hundreds of pigeons gathering together. It sounds like an avian spectacle.
It truly is. Imagine witnessing that a sea of pigeons settling in for the night, their calls echoing through the forest. It's a testament to their social nature and perhaps a strategy for predator-avoidant safety in numbers, as they say.
It makes you wonder what those gatherings are like, all those pigeons interacting, sharing information about food sources, maybe even gossiping about the best nesting spots.
Who knows what pigeon secrets are being shared in those flocks?
Yeah.
It's a reminder that there's still so much we don't know about these fascinating birds, so much more to discover and learn.
Well, on that note of unanswered questions and a thirst for further exploration, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the captivating world of mountain pigeons.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has. They truly are remarkable creatures, from their unique physical adaptations to their intriguing social behaviors and complex evolutionary history.
I agree.
I've learned so much about these feathered friends, and I hope our listeners have too. We've journeyed from their ancient Greek name bear pigeon to their love for figs and even their surprising taste for dirt.
It's been a pleasure sharing this deep dive with you, Hari. And with our listeners, hopefully it sparked a curiosity to learn more about these often overlooked but truly fascinating birds.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and keep appreciating the incredible diversity of life on our planet. And until next time, happy birding.
Farewell, everyone.